Hello, my name is Chuck Hill, and I'm a musician from Tampa, Florida in the United States. This lesson is for the sixth and final week of Introduction to Music Production at Coursera.org, and I'm going to give an explanation of the Amplitude envelope in a synthesizer and give examples of various amp envelope configurations and their musical usage. I'll be using Logic Pro's ES1 subtractive synthesizer for this demo. An amplitude envelope changes volume over time by changing levels in a sense voltage-controlled amplifier. This envelope is commonly referred to as the ADSR envelope, which is shorthand for attack, decay, sustain, and release. Attack is the time it takes for a node-on event to reach full value. Decay is the time it takes to go from full value to the sustain level, and release is the time from when a node-off event occurs until amplitude goes back to zero. Attack, decay, and release are all expressed in time. Sustain is expressed as a level that is sustained once the decay cycle is complete and remains there until a node-off event occurs. For purposes of this demo, I will be keeping the same settings in the ES1 except for the ADSR here on the right, where I will be making changes for different musical effects. Our first amp envelope example is a simple switch configuration. I'll set attack, decay, and release to 0 and sustain to 100. When I hit a key in the synth, amp will go to 100%, and when I release it, it will immediately go to 0. This is similar to how an electric organ works. So I set my attack, decay, and release to 0 and sustain full up. And I have an organ-like sound. I have a little irritating click, but I can clean that up a little bit by increasing slightly the attack and release. And there we have an organ-type sound. Our next amp envelope example demonstrates a percussive sound with virtually no attack, a short decay time, short release time, and no sustain. The resultant envelope will look something like this. So I've set the attack and sustain to 0, and decay and release to around 30. This gives me kind of a thump, reminds me of like what I might get from a kick drum. I'll next try for another percussive sound, but this one will be dampened. It has the same quick attack of 0 and 0 sustain, and a decay time set between 10 and 80, but will have no release time, so it will be cut off if I release a note quickly. Attack and sustain are set to 0 as in the previous percussive example, so we'll set release to almost 0 and lower the decay to 30. It has something that sounds a little like a wooden xylophone, percussive and yet dampened. Next we'll move from percussive sounds to more sustaining sounds that simulate bowed or blown instruments. For this we can lengthen the attack time slightly, have a short decay and release, and set the sustain level to some value between 50 and 90. I've increased the attack, decay, and release to 30 each and the sustain to 100 to get a flute-like sound. You can almost hear a slow build-up of the breath and then a sustaining of the note, like you would with a flute. Our final example is our instructor Loudon's Quirk envelope configuration, which is similar to the percussive envelope, but the release time is much longer than the decay time. If we hold a note, then the decay will fall off, giving us a percussive sound. But if we take the note off too quickly, then the release cycle takes over and you get a different sound. And here's an example of it. Release is set way higher than decay. The first two notes are held, and the last one's hit quickly. In the background, I'm playing a simple arrangement I've made using all the envelope types I've demonstrated here, all parts using the same synth settings except for the ADSR. Thank you for watching this video. I hope my fellow students have had as much fun and learned as much as I have these past 6 weeks. Best of luck with your future musical pursuits.